Here we are again. I said I'd be to this, by request from Cargo Sparrow on the late shift. Let me clean my camera off. By the request of Cargo Sparrow, I wanted to talk about your best and worst dates. You know, so like I said, this is the late shift with Mel Mel. As promised, I would come on. I would talk about this matter. I know there's some people that are not here yet. So I'm trying to go for that hour of power. I finally solved my first Rubik's cube. The other night. So I guess I gotta undo it. I gotta redo it and try to solve it again. And I'll save this for another time. So I just messed up a perfectly well done Rubik's cube. Yeah, nah, nothing wrong with that. Thank you for coming through, Justice Hambricks. Finally caught me. Here we are. So now back to the Rubik's cube. I'll figure that out another time. Yeah. So on my earlier live stream, I was asked to talk about. Excuse me, I gotta wipe that off. On my earlier live stream, I was asked to talk about. I guess a topic that came from the audience because I have things to talk about, but I try not to put too much out there. I try not to be too serious about, you know, my live streams or have too many serious topics back to back while I listen to the people. I listen to what's being said, as far as, where people stand and, what people are doing and stuff like that and how things, translate, So, Time Reveals actually asked me what the topic was going to be, the channel Time Reveals. And I told her, I said, I really don't know. I told her, she caught me at a moment. It just was like, I didn't have any, thing prepared or whatever the case may be. And I said, I really don't know what I'm going to talk about. So then it led to, Cargo Sparrow. I said, anybody in the crowd, something to talk about. It was like, I don't know. Cargo Sparrow, she said, hey, why not talk about your best and your worst dates? And I said, you know what? That might not be a bad idea. That might not be a bad idea. I need light if I was going to go after this Rubik's Cube. That might not be a bad idea. I don't want to distract anybody with this. I'll put that down. That's for another time. Anyway, so I said, you know what? That might not be best and worst dates. Best and worst dates. Yes, that's the topic, And I thought I literally sat in my chair and I had to think, like I said, I just sat there. I just was like, okay, let me just relate. So, I sat there, and I thought to myself, I said, you did a lot of things, Mel Mel. You don't went on a lot of dates. Maybe not really, but you went on to quite a few, almost every date of my teens. I didn't do a lot of dating in my teens, Justice Hambricks, but I did do a couple of dates, as I got older, maybe in my 20s and my 30s, so yeah. So yeah, oh wow, April 21st, 2009. Wow, that was your worst date. Oh my God, I hate to hear that. So I'm gonna start with the best. I'm gonna start with the best. What the best, I guess dates, for me. I forget what year. I think it was probably 2013. Those are probably some of the best dates that I was on, and it's interesting to say because the relationship didn't end too well, So, but those are some good dates, I had a time when I went to Coney Island, and it was a really fun night. It was play some games, rode the Wonder Wheel, there was a little drama here there, I first got married on my first husband, 3 days, 8 years. Wow, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that, Justice Hambricks. Unfortunate things do befall us all, you know. Yeah, wow, but you take the positive, you take the good with the bad and stuff like that. So, that's definitely something that comes into play when it pertains to that. But as far as my best dates, they were probably in 2013, and then one date I had, yeah, I can imagine when we were young. I mean, I can't even think of any dates when I was young, when I was really young in my teens and stuff like that. My early 20s, I called myself trying to do a little something. As I probably got older, the dates got better because I got a little bit more mature, a little bit more money in your pocket. You understand, that the movies is not the best, for dates and whatnot, but I'll talk about that. So when it came to, my best dates were in my 20s. My best dates probably were in my early 30s, so my best dates, I definitely say, because I'm, going into my late 30s right now. I am in my late 30s. I'm 37 going on 38, but some of my best dates were in my early 30s, and I remember one time going to Coney Island and, doing the Wonder Wheel thing and taking pictures and getting cotton candy and winning prizes and stuff like that. Then another date in Times Square, going out, basically me spending more money going to Madame Tussauds and whatnot, Yeah. Nah, the good thing about you, Hambricks, is that you're married. So, your dates, whether they go good or bad, you ain't got to worry about nothing. You got who you got. You know what I'm saying? You got who you got, and you're going to work it out with each other or not work it out is up to you. But, I hope the latter. So, you know, the thing is, so I had my best dates probably, in my early 30s where, I went out, had some money, knew where to go, been around some places. I wound up spending a lot of money. Unfortunately, some of my best dates, were required or had me consisted of me actually spending money. I'm the one spending the most money in these dates. I mean, I had dates where, I done bought clothes and, bought food and, you went out and you did things. Yeah, I said dates are scarce during this time. Yeah, I kind of figured. I kind of figured that just as Hamburg's dates may be scarce, but there's babysitters. You know what I'm saying? You got to spring for those babysitters. You got to call over a family member that you trust, and then work that out as far as the babysitting. Renters and babysitting go. Now, if you can't find anybody you could trust or anything like that, then you're gonna have to have a family outing. I remember having dates where I've dated women with children, and they got expensive. They got really expensive. I remember one female I had, she, that I was dating, and she had 2 kids, and we went out to the movies, and we just were going out for a routine movie thing. I mean, it wound up costing me down there $100 just trying to, go out and, finesse that whole situation and make it happen. So it's kind of crazy how that particular situation went, but you know that's just what it is. That's nothing. I know dudes who owe me money. That's the type of jokers I dealt with. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I don't know if I know any women that owe me money. Or date anybody that owe me money. Wow, people owed you money. I'm sorry to hear what happens when they meet you up in the street. You probably gonna have a fight or something. It's probably gonna be a fisticuffs or altercation or something like that. So, I mean, it happens. Dates do happen when things go left. I mean, so I still ain't got my money back. Seeing the streets and everything. Wow, you still ain't got your money back. Well, you must be a very nice person. You must be a very different person or whatever. Because in my 20s, I don't know. I don't know if I could have just seen somebody that I was dating that owed me money in the streets, and then that was just that. I mean, I had some situations where, legal actions had to be taken, but, I don't know about that. I could just be walking around you owing me money, and you just kind of chilling and walking around. I've had females try to steal from me, credit wise or other things like that, but, I'm good. I'm good. It's a good thing things didn't go further than what they did. I only got 75 of it back. Well, at least you got some of it back, At least you got 75 of it back. I don't know if you had to send the bully boys after him and just rough him up and tell him, look, I need my money back or else, there's gonna be some situations, it's gonna be just us handbricks after you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I mean, but yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's rough. You got some real interesting jokers out there, both male and female, So if we want to talk about worst dates, one of my worst dates is probably courtesy of my brother 90 Galak. And if you're listening, do I have permission to tell a story? Yeah, why not? I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna get too deep into it. But anyway, we're gonna get to the details. Anyway, I go out with this female, and we go to the movies, and then she's talking about the fact that I don't have a car, and there's all kind of other nonsense that's going on with that. And we go to the movie theater, and I'm like holding the arm, and she's like, "Oh, you're dragging me," and all this other crazy stuff. Ain't chasing nobody down. I look at as a donation I made. You probably did make a donation, so that's crazy. So I go with this female, and it wasn't so much the date. No, that wasn't even my worst date. I know what my worst date was. Because 90 Glock, you're saved. You're saved, 90 Glock. I know what my worst date was. It took me some time to remember. I remember the female. And I was still in my late 20s, right? I go downtown, Brooklyn where I live and whatnot. Go to the movie theaters, meet up with this lady. It was somebody I met offline. And I meet up with her. Everything is fine. Everything is good. For the first date, we wound up going to the movies. And the movie we went to see was the breakup movie, which is appropriately titled. So we went to see the breakup movie with Vince Vaughn and what's the other one? I forget the other girl from Friends. I forget her name. And Jennifer Aniston. So we go with Jennifer Aniston, Vince Vaughn, go to see the breakup movie as a first date movie. So we go in there into the movie. I'm sitting in the movie theater with her, and we're watching the movie. The movie is okay. It's some funny moments and whatnot. Obviously, it's a movie where they're gonna break up. You see it. It's in the breakup movie, and they're going through that whole romantic comedy thing. So I'm in the movie theater with the woman that I met. I spoke to her online a couple of times, and this, that, and the third. So all of a sudden, she gets a phone call. She goes out 2 or 3 times to answer the phone in the middle of the movie. I guess she was interested in something. I don't know if her cousin was calling her, whoever. That was already something that was turning me off, or had me a little disinterested, because if I met up with you going to the movies, I'm paying for the movie. So at least you could do is sit down and watch the movie unless something crazy is going on. So that was that. Let it go. No problem. So then fast forward, movie's over. Okay, movie's all right. No problem. Go to the pizza place, get something to eat afterward, because, at this point, I don't really care. I was just kind of waiting to, wind the date down, really wind the date down. And as we're sitting there in the pizza place after going to the movie, this female is telling me, about her ex-boyfriend. We're sitting there having a conversation about her ex-boyfriend, or supposedly, allegedly having an ex-boyfriend. And the conversation's going back and forth. We're making a whole bunch of awkward small talk, knowing basically this probably isn't going anywhere. Whatever. I forget the girl's name, but I never forget what she said next. I never forget what she said next. She's like, yeah, people to tell me to take down the pictures of my ex-boyfriend in my room, but I don't care what nobody says. I'm going to keep the pictures of my ex-boyfriend up in my room because I love him, I cared about him. And I remember having one of those moments. You stop and you pause and you're looking around for the camera, like you don't can the camera as it used to be, or, where's the joke, or, like, is it something I'm missing? Is it something that's gonna happen? Is somebody gonna pop out and say, surprise, we got you, it's you, is this, is that? And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, nah, she didn't just say what I think she said. So I asked her and I'm like, what did you just say again? Could you repeat yourself? She's like, yeah, they say, my family says there's something wrong because I got a picture of my ex-boyfriend on my wall and I won't take it down. And I'm like, okay, so I'm, at this point, I'm just at a loss. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. I'm like, I don't know what to say. Yeah, I really don't know what to say. Yeah, she couldn't let go. But, this is something you could have told me before you came. And, I spent my money and, I sat there with you and listened to the story. Because I may be mixing the story up to where I don't know if we had pizza first, then went to see the movie. I think we had pizza first and then went to see the movie. But I already bought the ticket. So I think we had pizza first, then we went to see the movie. So with the combination of these two things, going to get pizza and sitting down talking to her, it was like, it's crazy. I went to see her and stuff back then. Pigs wouldn't have been in the fire. Yeah, that's what happens. Just us Ambers. But anyway, I just remember that being honestly one of my worst dates ever. I mean, that had to be the worst date, because the other one I was gonna say is probably the one my brother don't want me to talk about. But it wasn't the date that was so much that was bad. It was the actual stuff that went after it. I've had dates that went beautiful, that went wonderful. It's the stuff afterward that, that didn't work out. Like I said, finding out people got ex-boyfriends and all that other stuff. I mean, hey, Hamricks, it was one of those moments that caught me off guard. So it's it's what it is. Do you hold it against folks? Do you throw people down the drain? Do you say, hey, you can't let go of your ex-boyfriend and whatnot? Another one, I guess if you want to call this a date, is when I met up with somebody online and they just wasn't who they said they was. They didn't look the way they said they did. It was a female, and I was supposed to bring her upstairs and meet the family and stuff like that. And she wasn't as she described. I don't want to say if I got catfished or anything like that, but I remember her getting off the bus, and I remember my brother walking with me to meet the female outside. And I remember my brother saying, I don't know this man. I don't know him. He's not my brother. And I look over at my brother. I said, you ain't nothing, bro. And I remember walking around with this female for 2 hours because she wasn't exactly, who I thought she was. And that was my fault. That was back in the Yahoo days and no pictures and people just thirsty to talk to somebody and stuff like that. And I remember having the most awkward 2 hour conversation walking around the neighborhood and just putting her back on the bus and saying, hey, you know what, kick rock, see you later. All right. Not in those words. Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's the Janet Jackson versus Freddie Jackson thing. And I was so disappointed. I was so hurt. I was so hurt. I was just like, but that was my fault. That was all on me because, you gotta, verify the situation. Online now, everybody has pictures and profile and, you got people that you see and stuff like that. So it should be no reason, no need for you to be going on a date with somebody you never seen before. But as this was back then, yeah, I think this in the 90s. It was probably in the 90s, something like that. Maybe in the late 90s, as far as that goes, Yahoo and all that other stuff. Nowadays you got all the Tinder and the Facebook and the Twitter and the Instagram thirst and all that stuff. People flying each other in from different states and different countries, and there's the hookup apps and the Ashley Madison and stuff like that. I don't know if Ashley Madison is still around, but you got sites where people, to go cheat on each other with, and all kind of, different versions of adult Facebook and all this other, freaky deaky stuff. I hear they ain't hardcore. We has no shade to anyone, but who smoke and sweat, weed smells things. Well, dating somebody who smokes, that's another issue in itself. I've dated people who smoke and stuff like that, and it can really be a situation and stuff like that. Yeah, you can only take so much, but it comes down to the point. Dating is rough. It's rough, like that is definitely rough out there. That's why I say some of these youngins out there and the freaky stuff and the crazy stuff that people put each other through is insane out there. Hambricks is definitely insane. Especially with people who don't believe in monogamy. Like you want to sleep with this one and that one. And what's up, Sherry K? I appreciate you. I was just talking about best and worst dates. I was just going over some things and whatnot. I'm not gonna go through the whole repeating of that. I just say hit the replay, gang. Appreciate that. But thank you for coming through, Sherry K. This is a topic that was asked to be spoken about by Cargo Sparrow. So yeah, on the late shift, I'm doing it. Then again, I smoke Newport 100s in a soft pack every day, so maybe I smell too. Who knows? Just as Hambricks. I've dated people, who smoked weed, who smoked, cigarettes. It can really be, a situation where it's a point of adjustment and stuff like that. It all depends on who you are. It depends on where you come from, where you stand, and whatnot. Yeah. No, I imagine you don't smoke anymore, but it's good that you stopped smoking now because you're still young. You're about 27. So, being 27 and stopping, you still got, good 10 to 15 years, to clear your lungs out and, get them back to the pre-smoking days and stuff like that. So, just the topic of smoking and whatnot, it's definitely, important to make sure, you take, stock of what you put in your lungs, especially, poisoning yourself or doing different things to yourself. And I know people do the things that they do, so, I'm not saying anything against anybody. Everybody has to, account and atone for their own health and, what they will do and what they won't do. So that's just really what that is. But back to the whole dating situation. It's rough out there, man. I want to know some of y'all folks out there, some of your dating stories, some of your best and your worst stories, if you have it out there. Anybody that would like to share. I want to know what goes on in Coney Island on Fridays. Well, on Fridays, Coney Island is a very lively place. I haven't been there this year, though. I would love to go this year. It's Coney Island. If you're on a date, it's great to go at night. Catch the Wonder Wheel or some of the attractions, walk along the boardwalk, take some pictures and stuff like that. And one of the best dates that I had, which was in Coney Island, it was just at the time when the summer was ending. So, I went there at a time when the summer was ending. Some of the rides was closed down, but the boardwalk was still good to walk on. I mean, I would love to do like a vlog or something like that. I need to go out there. People were trying to get to go when I was there. Yeah, you should go, Justice Hambricks, to Coney Island and whatnot. It's good. It's better to go at night if you have people to go with you, so you can just take in some of the scene and stuff like that, depending on what time it is. But it's usually best for especially for New Yorkers and stuff like that, to go right after the summer, after the tourists have gone. When some of the rides have closed down, when it's starting to get a little bit colder. Because the time that I went, I think it was September, October, one of those times and whatnot, and I was off. I think Friday, Saturday, or something like that. So I had the time to go. I had the time to spend out there. I didn't have to rush back to anywhere. So it's crazy, because if you go during the day, it's a lot of cool things to see out there, but the tourist situation can be a lot crazy. But it's some beautiful pictures out there. I encourage and challenge anybody to go out to Coney Island if you got the time. One of my coworkers went out there recently with his significant other. So definitely go out to Coney Island. Brenda G's Designs. I appreciate you. We're talking about dating. You can't talk about dating without Brenda G's Designs. Yeah, Brenda G, I was talking about some of my best dates, some of my worst dates. I will come back there after the NY gets right. Yeah, definitely. Come back. The transportation system is crazy. Well, Brenda G, I was talking about one of my worst dates, and one of my worst dates, I remember sitting in the pizza shop, and me and the female were talking about her ex-boyfriend. And I don't know how we got to the topic of her ex-boyfriend to this day. I still can't remember. And all I remember her saying, like I was saying earlier, is that she doesn't want to take down a picture of her ex-boyfriend that was on her wall. And this was part of the date that I was having. And this is something where I already bought the movie ticket and we were already committed. And I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating this. For our first date, we were going, our only date, our first and only date, we were going to see the breakup movie. Ain't it interesting how the exes always crop up on a date? Yes, they do. But this is a situation where I didn't even prompt her for that situation. Like I said, to this day, I don't know how her ex came up in that conversation, and I don't even remember what I said other than to ask her the question, because I couldn't really fathom. I couldn't believe that she felt the need to bring up her ex. Maybe she was telling me something or she was defensive. But all I remember her saying is that her family members are telling her, look, it's not healthy to have a picture on the wall of her ex-boyfriend. And she was saying adamantly, I wasn't arguing with her. She was having an argument in her head with her family in front of me while talking to me in the moment about why she's not going to take down the picture and how she loves this man or she cares about him. I guess she was trying to get back with him. At that point, I knew this wasn't going anywhere. But I had to go through the date because I already committed my money. And I wanted to see the breakup movie. So it was appropriate because we went to see the breakup movie. And it was actually a pretty decent movie. I just wish I would have seen it under better circumstances. And that was arguably my worst date ever. Best date ever that I've had was Times Square. Times Square. I mean, that day I almost wanted to cry. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that date, resulted in somebody getting pregnant, you know what I'm saying? But, the baby thing didn't happen. But, it is what it is. It went from, we went to Ripley's Believe It or Not, and we went to, Madame Tussauds, the Wax Museum. I think we went to the movies. I bought a pair of sneakers, some expensive ones. And, we went over to Bryant Park and, we did some things, did a lot of stuff, walked around, took pictures, was out there, did some things. We went and ate, we went to Dave and Buster's, we did a lot. I spent a lot of money. I think I spent about $500 that night. Honestly, I remember the exact amount. I spent $534 that night. That's a lot of money, a lot of money to be spending. But I was already in a relationship with this person. But, the relationship didn't end that well, it didn't end well at all, but whatever. but that was arguably probably one of the best dates I ever had because of the atmosphere, the vibe, what was going on, the feeling and stuff like that. Like she said, when as the relationship was ending, not all of it was bad. Not all of it was bad, but not all of it was cheap either. so so that's what that was, as far as that situation goes, but you live and you learn, so that's something that I've went through, and some of the things that I went through, like I said, I've had situations where issues have arose after the dates. I've had stuff happen, after, the after the rain, after the mirage or whatever, the illusions are over. I've had other dates. Some of my best dates, to be honest with you, no exaggeration, have been in Times Square. I had another date that was pretty good, with the same person. That was at Benihana's in Midtown Manhattan. So some of the best dates I've ever had, which were expensive, were in Times Square, Midtown, stuff like that, where I've actually spent money, taking the time out, maybe gotten dressed up a little bit because I don't do it cheap. Like now, if I was to go on a date, what's up, Cheryl? Appreciate you for coming through. Like now, if I was to go on a date, I would, try to be more mature about it. Of course, I'm not going to come in jeans, Timbs, and a do-rag and stuff like that. We should start dates by showing the other person the roles and say, I will give this to you at the end of this date or not. We shall see. Yes, yes, Brenda G. That's just one of the things we should do. It's like we have like a television camera or one of those vlog cameras. You walk around with two cameras and just you and the date and say, we're gonna vote you. We're gonna vote you in. We're gonna vote you out. Put them over one of those tanks. You know how they used to do it at the amusement parks or whatever. Put them over the tank with the bullseye, and say, I gotta dunk you. You know what I'm saying? If this hits the bullseye, we'll see. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, then if you survive that, then we're good. I don't know. Get a second date. I think that sometimes when dates don't go right, the hardest thing is to get to that second date. Try to get to that second date is always a challenge. It's always a struggle. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you've ever had it where, you've had a first date that was bad and then a second date not go well. I've had a first date that I knew, things wasn't going to go well. You find yourself trying to, do a little fake one night stand somewhere, I mean, those things never really work out the way that they should, I've had some expensive dates, some expensive nights, at the Marriott's or whatever, stuff like that. My mother, you watching? Hey, hi, mom. I'm not gonna incriminate myself, but yeah, it's a situation where you got to really get to know the person and really, try to go slow with it and whatnot. And I say to anybody, first dates are indicator, whether or not the relationship should go anywhere, or if you should waste your time dealing with folks and whatnot. They should call me on the day, Charlotte, because ain't nobody getting the second date in years. Wow, wow, wow. Well, Brenda G, it's challenges. I mean, when you find out, I mean, it's like, what do you do when you find out in the first 5 minutes that this is a total waste of time, but you're sitting there at an expensive restaurant? Or you have an itinerary of things to do. Maybe you wanted to do the horse ride, horse-driven carriage, and you got champagne, and you got a hotel set up, and you got music and all this other nonsense going, and you find out within the first 15 to 20 minutes, that this person may be a weirdo, or they're crazy, or they got a record. I've dated women that had criminal records, that were going through some situations that I'm not still going to talk about on here. First date should be simple with coffee, period. Well, I mean, yeah, Cheryl, you say that, but sometimes people want to wine and dine you. I've had on set, call me 15 minutes into the date, and I call an emergency, I had to leave before I need to be. Well, I mean, Brenda, it happens. You have those, I got a fake emergency, I got to be somewhere, like I said, it works. It works. But what do you do with that when you've already paid for everything? You know what I'm saying? When you've already paid for stuff and you got things set up and you're really trying to impress. And I agree with what you're saying, Cheryl. Sometimes you keep it simple. Sometimes, it happens, like that. Well, after the coffee, if things are going well, you go from there. Well, yeah, that better be a great cup of coffee. I mean, Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever shop it better be some bomb coffee. You know what I'm saying? Just like like, hey, I looked in your eyes, and the frappuccino or the mocha latte or whatever, the mocha chata, they got me smelling and thinking some things. You know what I'm saying? Never go on a paid date, the first date time out, me for coffee or burger, never anything expensive. Well, I've had to learn that the hard way, Brenda G. I've had to learn that the hard way. Yeah, you go for coffee and you do stuff like that, but sometimes, as a man and you're dealing with certain women, they may think you cheap, or it's an issue if you don't have a car. Why don't you have a car? I only like to date men that can drive me around, or why do you look a certain way? Why don't you dress a certain way? I mean, you ladies bring a tear to my eye with saying, just coffee. I didn't know you could just do coffee, but sometimes that's not the case. It's crazy. Well, if things are going well and you want to spend more time, then you go from there. Because if not, yeah, small dinner and a walk is perfect. Yeah, small dinner and a walk is perfect, but sometimes you get caught up, as a man, you trying to impress. Yeah, doing coffee is cool. Coffee is good if you're not sure where if the person is feeling the vibe and whatnot. I've offered some people coffee, and stuff like that. I mean, I'm glad you women feel that way. It really depends. Some go for that, coffee or tea. We can do lunch, we can do dinner sometimes. If you're smart, you can just do dinner, or if things is, moving the right way, you vibe. Sometimes, it's just good to be friends. Sometimes it's just you meet somebody at a bar and you have a nice drink with them, and that's just what it was. I mean, I've had situations like that. You just meet a person at a bar, you had a sip, and you pay for their ride home, and you keep it moving. So you set up the next night, and the anticipation of getting together again can be exciting. Well, I hear where you ladies are coming from. Sometimes that's not exactly how it goes down. Just meet and see if there's a spark. If not, you aren't out much, and so you go from there. Well, that's how some people do it. Other folks, they get together with the anticipation of hooking up. Let's talk about the hookup culture. They have apps, they have profiles, people with profiles with the intent of getting together to, and then you see where it goes from there. So there's some people that move backwards. They go and they have the encounter, of the third kind, and and then after you have that encounter and experience that thing, then you decide whether or not you want to go from there. So some people do that. I wouldn't want someone to spend a bunch of money on me if I'm not interested. I mean, seriously. Well, I admire you for that, Cheryl. But I've heard, I've been in situations. I mean, when I was younger, unfortunately, where you need to learn and you grow from that. But it's situations where people do sometimes wind up overstepping their bounds, overspending. Sometimes really not getting to know somebody. I mean, like I said, I appreciate you ladies. I wish when I was younger, I had females that was thinking that way all the time. I've had some females where McDonald's was good. We just they wanted to go to McDonald's. It wasn't a problem. So it's really up that you got to think with the right head. Yeah, no, you do. But sometimes you can get caught up in the moment, and you want some things. Nobody goes, no, that is, that's funny. Yeah. Well, there's the thing about booty calls or the hookups and whatnot. I mean, the youngins, they do get into that culture, I mean, yeah, I know Sherry K found that funny, but it's what it is, these youngsters out there, man, they have a way. They don't even call them booty calls anymore. I don't know what they call it. I mean, I couldn't give you the lingo, the slang for what they call it now. The old timers may call it booty calls, but they call it something totally different now. So that's what it is. I'm not saying a hookup is a bad thing. It's just neither of both you sign up for. Yeah, not. I mean, yeah, you got the hookups. My thing about hookups is just that, it gets dicey. Like I said, it gets dicey because if you have to see the person again, and things worked out, or if you performed or you didn't perform, it gets crazy. All right, Cheryl, nothing. I'll be here. Hopefully. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what's going on. You know, so when it comes to hookups, when it comes to, like, depending on whether or not that's what people signed up for, it could get dicey whether or not those people, you co-workers with somebody, or you're gonna see somebody online and you interacted with them, or you know them personally. I mean, hookups, they happen. I mean, usually from what I've heard, hookups are usually the best when it's a situation where it's a one time, one shot, one deal, one kill, blah blah blah. I gave you the I gave you the and then that was that. But but when you're on that, and you're somebody that potentially you want to be serious with, maybe the hookup is not the right thing. Maybe it's not the right move. That's when you vie for coffee. Or if you really want to try to get to know somebody. If I really wanted to try to get to know you and take things slow, I would, um, yeah, yeah, no, it's okay, Cheryl. It's Cheryl. Take care. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, as far as trying to get to know somebody, I feel like, before you go on a date, or you're gonna make it more, or try to invest more time, more money, more energy, it's best to try to do lunch. Do breakfast, do lunch. Find out who a person is, sit them down over a cup of coffee. Maybe they didn't wipe their face a little too much, or maybe they got a little morning breath, and you got to see what's what. And then you figure out what's what. If you want to imagine yourself waking up next to this person every day, and seeing how they are. Somebody told me, old timers said, if you really want to know who a person is, you ask the real questions. What are your politics? How are you when you argue? How do you feel about God? What do you think about children? You ask real questions. You have a real conversation. I mean, I don't want to say like an interview, but it could be like an interview. You really take the potential and say, hey, where could this go? What is the possibilities of this particular relationship, this particular thing that we got going on here? I mean, I tell anybody, like, be mindful, of who you choose to spend your time with, even if it's not something that's going to go anywhere. But I definitely agree with you, Brenda G, on that. You want to try to keep it simple. And over time, I've learned to keep it simple. I've definitely learned to keep it simple. If I don't have to go spend a lot of money, if I know that this may or may not go anywhere, then, that's what it is. And what are their interests, and what kind of family do they come from? Yes. Yes, yes. It goes to the old Biggie line, when I love it when you call me Big Papa. I remember what he said in the song. He said, as soon as he buy that wine, I just creep up from behind and find out what your interests are, who you be with, things to make you smile, what numbers to dial. You gonna be here for a while? Like I said, you find out. You find out. Ask questions. I think, Brenda G, and I'll say this, maybe you agree with me or disagree with me. People don't spend enough time having conversation, getting to know the person before, you have to really overcommit yourself, or feel like you're overcommitting yourself, or you're dealing with somebody that you may not really know like that. I mean, it's a situation where a conversation will save you a lot of time. And then also, too, I think, we may put a lot of things aside. We may see the signs. You may see the signs for women. They may see somebody who's a womanizer, but because he has, nice eyes, or he's the right height, or he has money, or he may come from a certain type of family, you may push that to the side, or he's somebody that could do something for you, and then you may ignore that. Or like for a man, on the other side, a man may say, because she got a nice, wagon behind her, or she got pretty eyes, or the body is looking like a Coke shape, a Sprite bottle or something, then you kind of ignore the fact that she got a boyfriend, or there may be a drug habit somewhere, or she's not really a people person, or she may hate people. Who knows? I think we don't take enough time out to really see people for who they are, and just look at them and say, hey, you know what? This person is telling me. If you listen closely enough, especially in a date, you'll find out who a person is. You listen closely enough, you sit down and pay attention to what's going on, you'll find out who they are. You won't have to figure out and try to, go through things and then, try to figure out, hey, is this person, really who they say they are, so that's how that situation goes, but, I don't know, it's interesting when it comes to dating, when it comes to stuff like that. Never let loneliness jade your view of a person. Well, I'm glad you said that, but you know, it is a challenge when it comes to that. If you really don't check your emotions, if you really don't, get it together when it comes to that, you can become jaded by loneliness, and not just loneliness. You can be jaded by heartbreak, heartache and pain. What's up, Jitlit? What's going on? In my life, I've seen heartache and pain in my life. Like I said, that could do you. I wanna know what love is. But that, I mean, it gets kind of crazy like that. Brenda G. That's why it's important for those people that don't know. Brenda G does a series. This is why I'm single. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but why I'm still single, and she puts up some great points and some real interesting commentary on the dating landscape and stuff like that. You probably could benefit yourself to check out, Brenda G, and the thoughts she has on dating. She has a lot of very sound advice and whatnot. Better be alone with yourself than to be hooked up with some mess. Yes, Scott King, I appreciate you for coming through, Scott King. I agree with you, definitely, Brenda G. It's better to be alone, than to be with somebody, that's not working out for you. It's written in a good book. They said it's better to be in the wilderness, lost in the wilderness than with an angry woman, and I guess vice versa for an angry man. So if you're with an angry man or somebody that's, angry man, woman or whatever, somebody who really doesn't have themselves together, what's the point? What's the purpose of it all? So, you know, it can get crazy out there, and I just tell people, make sure that you are evenly yoked. Yes, and for those folks, make sure you're compatible. For those that don't understand evenly yoked, basically what Brenda G is saying, make sure you're compatible. And I think a lot of times, I've said this to people personally. I don't think I've ever said this online. I said one of the issues is that people don't take the time out to get to know each other. They don't take the time out to really just get to talk to each other. So many people just want to jump into the sack, and a lot of times you can get measured by basically what happened in the bedroom. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying what happens in the bedroom is not important, but that shouldn't be the only indicator of the relationship. And I had a theory on one night stands. Why one night stands happen. One night stands, in my opinion, happen a lot of times because people objectify each other and they make it about the physical.